Thank you for joining Christine Crockett Smith as she shares insights and parenting strategies from her gold medal winning book, 18 Master Values, Be the Parent You Wish You'd Had, a great resource for peaceful parent-child relationships.
Hey there, how are you? Thank you so much for being here today. Whether it's live or whether you're watching it later, we're here today to talk about my book, 18 Master Values, Be the Parent You Wish You Had. But really, we're talking about more than my book because it's really kind of a movement about making sure that adults clean up their stuff and don't pass it on to their kids. So thanks for being here. Thank you, Anna Xavier, my producer. I'm so grateful to her, and I don't want to forget to thank her on the end, so I'm going to thank her on the front here. And I have a guest today that I'm really excited about, Chonnie Richey. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. You want to tell them a little bit about who you are as a parent?
I'm a day-to-day parent because everything is so busy all the time. And I'd like to think that I'm one of those parents out there that just kind of takes things day to day. But I'm hoping that I'm not making the same mistakes day to day. So that's,
oh my gosh.
I know, especially with 3 children. So it's a little bit
Tell me about
difficult.
Your kids, boy, girl, ages.
I have 3 children. The oldest is Sophia. She's my miracle baby. I like to kind of say that. And my middle is Kara, my mini-me. And my youngest is actually also a miracle baby because he was my 40th birthday present, and his Lachlan is actually going to be turning 6 in Thanksgiving this year.
They're all little miracles, aren't they?
They are. So they are.
I love what you said about a day-to-day parent. I just read, I wish I could remember where, but I can't. Maybe I will in a minute. I read today about how parenting changes every day because we change every day and they change every day. Like who they are when they go to school is different from who they are when they come home from school because they've learned things, they've grown, they've had interactions with other people. So anytime a parent, digs in with and decides some kind of a rigid set of rules and how they're going to do it, they're kind of missing the whole point.
But I know people that dig in, and sometimes I feel guilty when I don't dig in because it feels like I'm not having the structure that other parents say I should have, right? I've read every parenting book out there because 3 is different. And in every one of them, I think that a lot of them is like, you have to have a rigid schedule when they're 2 months old. I'm like, they're 2 months old.
Right?
I don't even have a rigid schedule when they're 2 months old. So how can I expect that from them? But I'd like to think that I learn, especially from them when they come home, because they're the ones that teaches me what their mood is on a day-to-day basis. I can have the most horrific day at work, but then when I pick them up and they're happy, my whole world changes, right? Because they're telling me about their world and their day. And I think as a parent, we quickly learn that our view of the world changes when you have children because all of a sudden they become your world. So I say that I'm a day-to-day parent, and that is the absolute truth because everything changes.
I think that's brilliant and genius and the only way to do it. And, you mentioned that your world changes when you have kids in ways that are really indescribable. I remember when my first daughter came into my life, my stepdaughter, I suddenly cared about what happened to the world 100 years from now.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. Prior to that, I honestly hadn't even considered it. It was completely irrelevant. All I thought about was, sure, I was in my 20s, so that's all I thought about was myself anyway. But when you start thinking about their lives 60 years later, their kids, it changes everything.
Well, I'm glad you said that because Lachlan was watching television the other day and he saw a commercial on, remember that wildlife fund that you saw when you were a kid, right?
Around Christmas.
Christmas, yeah. And so he said, Mom, this is the last tiger in the world. We need to go save this tiger because I want this tiger to be around whenever I have children. And I'm like, he's 5.
Right.
And he wants to save a tiger. And I'm thinking, you want me to pay money to go save a tiger, right? And he's like, yeah. So we need to do that. We have to add that to our list today. And you're right, because when we're in our 20s, it's always about what am I going to drink tonight? Or what am I having for dinner tomorrow? It's never,
what am I going to wear?
What am I going to wear?
That's a big one.
I know. Or when you have children, it's like, man, I better, whatever decisions I make today, good, bad, and different, will make an impact on what they're doing tomorrow. And so you start thinking about the world around you, and and you just start thinking about everything you're seeing in the news, and you can't help but think that what I say, what I do, things that they see me say or do impacts that. And that's why I absolutely love this book. And I just want to tell you, I absolutely love this book. I read the intro and I'm like, I'm totally hooked. I really love this book, and I'm making notes on my Kindle. And I want to tell her, everything was resonating, even at the intro portion of it. So I want to let you know that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we are here today to talk specifically about the two, justice and humility. We don't have to stay on that if it goes somewhere else.
No, it's funny because, and we are. And when you sent that to me, I'm thinking, man, she chose one of the two hardest values in these books.
Oh, gosh.
But justice is one of those things that, it's funny because it was something that I thought about as I was reading it, because it's all about discipline and punishment, right? And it has to kind of really match that. And I love the examples that you used in this book, because I'm thinking, man, I wish I would have done that when she did that in the book. And we actually used one of them, and I'm going to tell you how. So Kara and Sophia are maybe 3 or 4 years apart. And they're fighting. So my 12-year-old daughter is going into the preteen years, and so everything is horrific, right? And so
it's tough.
I know. And so they're
tough.
fighting, and they're fighting constantly. And I grew up in a household of three women, and and we fought all the time. And to me, it's part of growing up, but it's really difficult for my husband to hear that all the time, because he thinks that World War III is happening every fight. So the other day, as I finished the chapter on justice, and they were just arguing like crazy. We couldn't figure out why. And it totally something that didn't matter. It just didn't matter. But you can tell that in their world, it mattered at that time. And they were so hurt. And they were so hurt to the point that they were just like being hurtful to each other in the words that they're saying. And so I said, and I thought about the book, and I'm like, you know what, how do I really diffuse this, right? It's all about that, because I felt myself getting angry, because, it was almost 5 o'clock. I have to get dinner on the table, and I had a long day, and I'm hearing this. And so I said, okay, we're gonna try this from Christine's book. And so my husband actually started and said, okay, Kara, Sophia, come out here, and said, Sophia, I need you to turn to your sister and tell her you love her and give her a kiss and a hug. I know. And Kara, I want you to do the exact same thing. Turn to your sister and tell her you love her and how much she means to you. And I kind of watched it, and they're like, Dad, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, no, I said, it's a good idea. Let's try it a little bit. Versus me yelling at both of you and punishing you for fighting again over and over and again. Let's have you diffuse it. And so having them go through that exercise really kind of minimize whatever angst they were feeling with each other, right? And whatever punishment I could have given them would have been a lot worse than just really approaching it this way. And what I wanted to say was both justice and humility really goes back to the first master value, which is love. I'm telling you, you got to read this book, because the most important master value is the first one, and it's love. And I think there's a parent, whether you're a single parent, whatever parent, that if we just really just go back to the most basic parenting skills of just loving them and teaching them that the most important thing is just having them love each other, versus yelling at them and just really feeding into their anger, that it really helped them realize how to communicate better with each other.
And one of the things about that I think can be such a moment-to-moment guide as a parent is remembering how you wish it would have been done for you. If you were in that situation, if you were one of the girls and you were in a fight with your sibling, how would you want your parents to handle it? It wouldn't be some kind of a punishment. It wouldn't be yelling. It wouldn't be blaming, and it wouldn't be taking sides. And that's one thing that's really hard for parents in that particular situation is you want there to be peace in the family. You feel like it's your responsibility because you're the adult in the room. And quite often we start trying to figure out whose fault it is, who started it, who's on the wrong side. And that's really not the point because we don't know and there's no way we can know. And quite often the conflict between siblings comes from wanting attention from the parent.
And I'm glad you said that because there is some truth to the middle child syndrome, some truth to it. And you kind of see it, and at times I've seen it with Kara that she's really exhibiting that, and so especially with Lachlan, who is my youngest, the rumor is he's my favorite, which is not true.
If they could see inside your heart and see that you've got these three equal sizes, yeah.
And so I think a lot of the fights that I see really stem for a lot of them is because one of them feels that we're taking sides, and it's hard. Have I done that? Absolutely,
of course.
Have I been guilty of that? But like I said, my parents, and I love them because they taught me so much, just didn't handle it that way. And but I think it's the way they were raised as well. And a lot of that is reflective of the way we were raised and the way we saw. And so I think that when somebody asks me, how do you feel like you're a better parent? My first answer is I think you're a better parent when you break a cycle. When you break,
Chonnie, I love that.
When you break a cycle of what's been done before, that what learned behavior is, that it's something that you learn. You know what? That's how either my parent or somebody that I trusted dealt with that, and it didn't make me feel good. It didn't give me the right result. So I'm gonna be better.
That's the key to conscious parenting, right there.
Is just changing that.
Don't do it the way it was done. Do it the way you wish it had been done.
But it's hard. It is, and that's why I say I'm a day-to-day parent, because it's consciously doing that every day. And do I fail? Absolutely, every day.
Absolutely.
Every day.
Absolutely.
And but I have to just, a friend of mine actually told me this morning, he said, you know what? You could be hard on yourself, but stop kicking your ass all the time. Take a break. Take a break.
It's in the book. Failure is just feedback. You can't ever really fail as a parent because you're trying so damn hard. Do you do things that you wish that you would do differently the next time? Sure,
Absolutely.
but that's where the lesson is, right?
Yes.
It's like just pay attention to it. Go, okay, oops, nope, next time, okay, reconnect, and then just move on.
I know, but I think that I think sometimes the hardest is when you do make those mistakes. Right? It feels like it takes a long time to get that trust back. And so to me, I think the hardest to me as a mom is when I know I'm consciously making that mistake. But man, at that right now, at that moment in time, it's the easiest thing for me because so much is going on. And I know at that point that I'm going to have to rebuild it. But I make that choice anyway, only because sometimes I have to have a break. And that's hard as a parent because you're like, parents don't get a break. Mothers don't get a break. I'm like, oh my gosh. If there's one thing I can tell parents out there, take the break. Take the moment. Take the self-care.
Self-care, so
because you're going to need it when in those moments when you know you're going to make those mistakes. You know you're going to hurt their feelings. And
there's nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry.
I know there isn't. There isn't anything wrong with that, and knowing that and feeling awful about it. And I think as a parent that the worst we could do is dig in. You talked about digging in and saying, I am not going to say I'm sorry because I am right. But more often than not, I say I'm sorry to my children. I'm admitting that. I say, I'm sorry I yelled at you today.
They learn that it's okay to make mistakes
and
when
I'm
you
sorry
do that.
And I'm hoping that if there is one thing that they can take from this whole modeling, whatever it is that we're from 2 to when they're 18, is that it's okay to make mistakes. It is okay to move forward. Right. So yeah.
That's a huge lesson that we can give them by not trying to act perfect. And, you've mentioned guilt a couple of times, and you've mentioned, feeling really bad when you've made a decision that you wish you'd made differently. And I have a saying that I believe in my heart, that guilt is only useful when you have intentionally harmed another person. And I hope parents are listening to that. And I'm going to say it one more time just because I think it's really important. Guilt is only useful when you've intentionally hurt another human. So when you're a parent and you're parenting and you're doing the best you can and you're doing all the other things that you're doing, you're a busy damn woman doing so many different things. And you're going to get caught up in a moment where you're over here doing this and they're over there doing that and you have to whatever. But there's no room for guilt. It is so unnecessary, and it doesn't serve anyone, because you were not setting out to hurt them. You were not setting out to harm them. It was just a thing that happened. And so I think parents have got to give themselves a little bit more of a break. That means you, Chonnie.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah.
But those moments happen.
They do, but don't feel guilty about them.
Okay, good. Then I just
erase and move on.
I'll forget it. I'll just move on.
And and you can just say to them, "Oops, that's not probably how I should handle that. I probably should have done it this way. I'm going to try to do it that way better next time." Okay. Anyway, next. I mean, just.
And you know what I've learned, I'm really very good at, is really saying, I'm sorry. I should not have yelled at you that way, and owning that.
Huge.
So owning that. So parents sometimes don't own those mistakes
because they're so afraid. They think they have to be perfect.
I think I have to be perfect, Christine.
Do you know what you're teaching
Yes.
your kids if you present as having to be perfect? You're telling them they got to be perfect too.
I know, and I've seen that,
and that's not what we want to tell them, because there's no such thing. And if you're a perfectionist and you think that perfect is the goal, then it's never good enough.
Well, no
matter what you do.
I learned that when Sophia said to me, she said, when she was going to school one day, and she said, "Mom, I just kind of want to let you know that," she's doing something. She goes, I just want to really live up to what you do." And I'm thinking, you're 12. You have so much more in your life to do. I said, "Why would you feel that way?" And she said, "Because I see everything that you do for others, that you do for the organization, that you do for your work, that you do for us, that you do for so many people, that I just hope in my life that I could be that amazing." And I'm thinking, oh my God, you think I'm amazing. With all the mistakes I'm making, you think I'm amazing. But you're right. And so sometimes as parents, we want to be perfect because we think back on our parents, and while they were not probably perfect in some of the things they've said and they've done, they really want us to strive for perfection. And I think as parents, what I really love, the one thing I really took away from this book, is that sometimes as parents, we don't love our children the way they're born. Right? Because we tend to mold them in our image, in how we view the world, in the way we see things. But you've mentioned this, and you and I have spoken about this. Sometimes we have to just love them for who they are and who they're born with, because they have the spirit in them, that they have a purpose. And that if we can just really support that purpose and just really, support that and just love that purpose, that whatever it is.
And we may not know.
But
letting them know they are worthy and they are enough, regardless of what they do, is the world to them. It's empowering. And I think, and I know some parents, that tend to mold their children, that have their lives planned out for them, and what school they're going to go to, what things they're going to do. And then I'm thinking, man, there's no room for the child in there.
8 years old.
Yeah.
Give them an opportunity to play, have an opportunity to see what they want to do, to expand, and that there are no wrong answers, that everything that they want to do is amazing and great. And if they want to be a chef one day, rock and roll, whatever the next day, or a marine biologist, or absolutely just want to write a rap song,
right,
just do it.
Right.
Just do it. And because based on really when I got out of this book, is at the very end of it, is that when we as parents don't embrace who they are, because sometimes it's a reflection of what we've done or what we've felt that our parents did to us, then we're really failing them, I think, and that we're not giving them an opportunity to be who they are.
Yeah. One of the most important things I do in raising consciousness is helping people understand that what we as a society have expected as measures of success, and it might be having gone to that school or gotten that trophy or that athletic success or that job or that financial or that car or that business, that home. There are so many people out there who've checked all those boxes and are friggin' miserable. Because they haven't done the inside work, because they haven't understood what is really, really important, which is human connection, in my opinion, spiritual connection, and understanding that we're all in this together. And as a parent, if you haven't done the work to figure that out for yourself, you are going to go into raising your children with the expectations of society that all those things are what makes us happy. Now, I'm not saying any of those things are bad, because they're not, but they should be like the icing on the cake of having that internal peace and comfort and connectedness that I am worthy, I am enough, and then all the other stuff can come and just be an add-on to it. Thank you for making that point, that because it is one of the two main premises of the book, is they all come to us as who they are on their own journeys. And our job is to figure out who that is. And when you have 2 or 3, they're all different too. We can't try to have one box to try to make them fit in. So thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, and I think now, we live in a society where it's very social media savvy. And I think as a parent, it's more difficult, actually, to raise children in this environment, because they do give them an opportunity. They do just show them, oh, instantaneous success? Absolutely. Be an influencer, all you've got to do is get on all these social media. And so it's instantaneous. And it doesn't, I think sometimes that when we let social media just really parent our children sometimes, and it's sometimes easy, right? It's easier because we're so busy. But I think that now at this point that we have to do our due diligence to really connect. And that's key too, is connecting with our children. Because I think if we don't connect with our children, it's more difficult in the long term. And I try to connect with them on a level outside of technology, outside of that. And that just sounds so corny, right? Because everybody's like, yeah, have to come. But man, I like having dinners together. I like having a breakfast together. I love Saturday mornings when we do nothing, kind of a thing.
We used to call them jammy days, when we literally went to bed in the same thing we woke up in. Like just totally hanging out at house.
And so I just think now in the environment that we live in, really connecting. Now there is a difference, because there is a superficial connection that we get, right?
So important.
But truly connecting and understanding them, it's so important.
You have to allow, not for just the quiet moments, not just the sitting there in silence for a moment. You have to allow for the quiet expanses of time. Like we're all sleeping in and we're not doing anything until, whatever the thing is in the dinner, because those are the moments where they're able to sit in stillness and quiet and silence without anything going on or distracting them. That's where the thoughts come. That's where the questions come. That's where you really get to hear what they're thinking and feeling. And you know what? That's where they get to really feel what they're thinking and feeling. Because when we throw all these distractions at them all day long with the go to school, the extracurricular, the be on Facebook, the watch TV, they don't ever have time to just let thoughts and ideas come to them. I think I wrote it in the book, but I used to write nothing on the calendar, like on a Saturday. Like when I realized we'd been going, go, I'd write like nothing, so that when somebody would call or something would come up and somebody would go, hey, you guys want to do this? Because that's always there, right, Chonnie? I mean, today, there's 15,000 things to do every freaking day. And most of them are really fun and exciting.
Yes.
And I would write it down so that when somebody would call and invite us, I would remember, no, that's a protected day. I have no idea what we're doing, but it's going to be just us. And we're going to just hang out. Maybe we'll go on a picnic. Maybe we'll go on a walk. But I protected those chunks of time so that we wouldn't get distracted. Because if you don't do that, there's always something to go to do. There's always a party or something to do.
And you know, those quiet moments turn into teaching moments, I think. Sometimes just in and you know, as because we're busy as a family, and so we have to really try to incorporate those quiet moments, and
you have to be really conscious about
them.
You
have to be really conscious about that, because then that's when you really, you know, you really kind of dig in on what's happening with them, and then and you kind of start teaching them about which we're going to get into humility and things like that here in a minute. And so, but some of that stuff you kind of start teaching them and really hearing what's happening in their world. So
it's everything.
It is everything. And so, but it's hard. It is, man, I can tell you I can do the most amazing 10 things during the day, but I will do 30 things that are difficult and hard and mistakes. And it's hard to not focus in on that 30, because sometimes the 10 that amazing things that you could do on a daily basis gets lost. And so
you have to be really aware and conscious of making sure that doesn't happen. You know?
Yes.
You got to give yourself the attaboys, even if it means writing them down, you know, even if it means like starting that list in the morning.
I bought a journal. I'm hoping that would help. Because
Good. Okay, so here's your first assignment with your journal. Write down only the things that went right for the first 30 days.
Oh,
yep.
You know what? I could do that.
Yep,
I could do that. So I'm going to do the only thing that goes right, because then
I can. Right.
Yeah, because I was talking to a friend of mine about today that whatever you think happens, right? And so whether or not you think if you think you're a bad parent, you're going to be a bad parent all day long. Yeah. But if you think you're an amazing parent, or you just did something good for the day with your children, then the universe is going to say that's absolutely how your world is, and your universe is the way you see it. And I think I think when parents just say it was a really bad day today, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, stop, because think about the most amazing thing that happened today. Could it be that when you picked up your children, they had the most amazing day, and they told you about their day? Focus in on that.
Yep.
Because for a moment, then everything that went bad goes away, and so your perception,
it only lingers if you focus on it.
And I'd love to say I don't do that, but man, it's just hard not to sometimes whenever.
That's okay. You're going to get over it, because the next 30 days you're going to write down only the things that went well.
Only the positive things.
And then it's going to become a habit. I want to say just one thing about humility, because I think it's the most important thing for all of us humans to embrace, and definitely for us to teach our children. The simplest way I can define humility is by acknowledging that we all have equal value. All 7.5 billion of us humans have equal value. Nothing you do or say or be can make you better than anyone else, and nothing anyone says or does or bees can make them less than you. And I think if you go forward with that as your guide, that you see every single person in the world that you come across as having equal value, you'll get to that connectedness and that oneness and that understanding that we're all in this together more easily. And I'm sorry, I know you're not even going to believe this, but our time is up.
No, I was kidding. Is it really? Is it really?
We have moved through that fast. I know. I could talk to you for an hour and a half.
Sorry.
But
I spoke today.
No, it was awesome. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you want people to know about what you're doing in the world and how they can find you?
You know
and
what?
Support you?
I call my fourth child is Independence Gardens, and it's just the most amazing organization. And if you're a parent out there that understands its school lunch has not been the most amazing thing in the world, well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to connect kids to food, and we're doing that through Independence Gardens, and we're doing that through what we call our organic outdoor learning spaces, to our Come and Eat It campaign, where we have chefs cook with kids. And we think that it's important that when we connect kids with food, they're able to make healthier food choices. So if you could just go to independencegardens.org and just kind of check us out, or on Instagram, it's iGardensRev, or you can just come see me, because I will go through my 30 days, and I will actually Instagram it, because when you put it out in the universe,
I love
I know,
that.
right? It comes true. So follow me on Instagram. It's at Chonnie R. It's CHONNIER. And we can talk about master values all day.
Because I'm gonna make you accountable, girl. I'm gonna text you if I don't see that post.
You know what? I said this now, so I'm gonna go home, right? What happened? You know what happened today, and I am going to post that because I do think that that's important.
It does. It sets the tone for everything that's going to come after.
Because we are set for an amazing year. whatever that looks
I'm
like.
so excited. So if somebody's interested in what you're doing, they can find you, they can support you. Of course, every nonprofit needs money, so you can help that way.
Absolutely.
And thank you all for being here, and happy parenting.